Good morning, and welcome to AI Daily for Sunday, July 19th, 2026. Here is your top story. For roughly 50 years, one problem sat unsolved at the heart of graph theory. Then, earlier this month, OpenAI said one of its models cracked it. 64 copies of GPT 5.6, working in parallel, producing a full proof in under an hour. And this weekend, that claim tore the math world in two. Is this the moment a machine did original research mathematics? Or did it just quietly recombine what humans already knew and forget to say thank you? We will unpack that fight. But first, the rest of today's headlines in what is, by any measure, the week open source AI came for the frontier. We start with that proof. On July 11th, OpenAI announced that GPT 5.6 Sol Ultra had produced a proof of the cycle double cover conjecture, a question open for roughly half a century. The setup is striking. 64 instances of the model ran in parallel, each chasing a different strategy, and it was allowed to think for up to 8 hours. It finished in under one. Then came the scrutiny. Thomas Bloom, a mathematician at the University of Manchester, called it a very nice proof. Short, elementary, the kind of thing that could have been found back in the 1980s. But he also had a sharp complaint. The write-up failed to cite closely related prior work, and he suspects the model recombined existing ideas rather than inventing genuinely new mathematics. And crucially, the proof has not yet been formally verified by the wider community. So the honest status today is promising, contested, and unproven. What is not in doubt is the direction. AI is now being pointed straight at the open problems of pure math, and the argument about what that really means is only getting louder. Now to the release that may matter more for the industry. On July 16th, China's Moonshot AI unveiled Kimi K3, and the numbers are eye-watering. It is a 2.8 trillion parameter mixture of experts model, natively multimodal, with a 1 million token context window and an always-on reasoning mode. It debuted at number 3 on the artificial analysis leaderboard, behind only Anthropic's Claude Fable 5 and OpenAI's GPT 5.6 Sol, and it beat both on at least one front-end web development benchmark. Here's the part that stings. Kimi K3 costs $3 per million input tokens and $15 on output, against roughly $10 and $50 for the closed frontier. And Moonshot says it will release the full open weights by July 27th, which would make it the largest open weight model ever shipped. A near-frontier model, at a third of the price, that anyone can download. If you run a lab selling tokens at a premium, that is not just a competitor. That is your margin, walking out the door. And Kimi was not alone this week. One day earlier, on July 15th, Murati's new lab, Thinking Machines, shipped its very first model, called Inkling, and it too is open weight, live on Hugging Face for anyone to download and fine-tune. Inkling is a mixture of experts system, around 975 billion parameters in total, but only about 41 billion active for any given task, trained on 45 trillion tokens spanning text, images, audio, and video. What is refreshing is the honesty. Thinking Machines says plainly that Inkling is not the strongest overall model available today, open or closed. It is not trying to be. The pitch is that Inkling is a starting point, a base for companies to customize on their own data through the Labs Tinker platform. Different philosophy, same headline. Another serious open model, out in the wild this week. Step back, and the pattern is the real story. In a single week, 2 heavyweight open-weight models landed, Inkling and Kimi K3, and a third piece, Kimi's full weights, is days away. For years, the assumption held that the best models would stay locked behind the biggest labs. That assumption is fraying, and it collides awkwardly with policy. American export controls were meant to slow China's AI. Yet here is a Chinese open model sitting at number 3 in the world, undercutting U.S. labs on price and handing the weights to everyone. Commentators this week argued the containment strategy may be backfiring, that restricting access mostly pushes users toward the cheaper, unrestricted alternative. That is an argument, not a verdict. But when near-frontier intelligence becomes something you can download for free, every business model and every policy built on scarcity has to be rewritten. To the markets, and a reminder, nothing here is investment advice, only facts. The AI trade had a rough, whipsawing week. On Wall Street, the closing bell Friday, July 17th, left the chip complex bruised. Nvidia finished down about 2% at $203. Taiwan's semiconductor fell nearly 3%, and the Philadelphia Semiconductor Index dropped another 1.5%, capping a stretch that included a nearly 5% single-day fall on Monday. But the real drama was in Seoul. As of Thursday's close, the latest data we have, SK Hynix had fallen more than 11% in a single day, to 1.84 million won, and Samsung was down almost 9%. And these were not one-offs. Earlier in the week, SK Hynix shed over 15% in a session, then bounced hard, then plunged again. This is a market that no longer trades in one direction. It lurches. So what is driving the swings? The same question that has hung over AI all month. Is there a payoff coming that justifies the spending? And what happens when the technology gets cheap? This week handed the bears fresh ammunition. When a Chinese open model reaches near-frontier quality at a third of the price, it puts direct pressure on the fat margins the market has been paying up for. And with the biggest labs and cloud players committing hundreds of billions of dollars to build-outs, investors keep asking the uncomfortable question out loud. What if the compute we are racing to build arrives faster than the demand to fill it? The bulls have answers. The open models still trail on the very hardest tasks, and real-world usage keeps climbing. But the mood has shifted. The market has stopped assuming AI demand is infinite and started demanding proof. Until it gets that proof, expect more weeks that look like this one. Finally, what to watch? First, the weights. Moonshot has promised Kimi K3's full open weights by July 27th, and when that lands, the largest open model in history goes to everyone. Second, verification. Keep an eye on whether that cycle double cover proof survives formal review. If it holds up, the argument that AI can do original mathematics gets a great deal stronger. And third, Washington. The White House's voluntary standards for frontier models still carry an August 1st deadline. A week that reshaped who builds AI may soon be followed by new rules on who is allowed to. We will be here for all of it. That is your AI Daily. The week open models came for the frontier, a math proof the experts cannot yet agree on, and a market that has run out of patience. Subscribe, and we will see you tomorrow, same time, every morning.